right, so we are live in Facebook. My name is Lisa Swanson. In case you don't know who I am, I'm Lisa Swanson. I'm the owner of Body and Soul Coaching and the founder of the Fit After 50 transformation programs. And I am here with Beth Larsen, who is a happiness, performance, and a high performance and happiness coach for professional women who want to ditch the stress and struggle and claim their more. I love this. More energy, more joy. I am all about more joy, more passion, more connection, and more meaning, which I think is so incredibly relevant to being in your 50s, because this is such a great decade, right? We have really come to a point where we know ourselves, but also we have been focusing on so many other people all these lives. It's like, okay, how do I make this more joyful and more meaningful for my life in my next half, my better half, right? So Beth also has a 20-year career in retail industry, and as a former VP of sales, she knows firsthand the challenges successful women face in balancing their career with their health, relationships, and happiness. So she is committed to giving all women the tools and strategies to not just thrive, but flourish. And one of the big things that we have a problem with, because I see this all the time with women entering my group, Weight Loss After 50, is how to get motivated. They say, I need somebody to motivate me. What can I do to get motivated? Well, Beth is here to talk about what to do when you're not motivated. So, welcome, welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for being here. And this is such an important topic.
Totally. And it's something I deal with all the time as well with coaches. And I'm sure we've experienced it ourselves, of that feeling of not feeling motivated.
Oh, definitely. I mean, there are some days you wake up in the morning and you're saying, great, I am motivated. I'm going to be focused. I'm going to get my work done today. And somehow halfway through the day, sometimes your motivation can get lost, right? It's like, where did that go? What happened? And then you feel like, well, forget it. I'll start tomorrow. And we kind of give up on that. But so tell me a little bit about your background, Beth, and what's your background in helping women deal with motivation and happiness?
Yeah, so I do work with women over 40 specifically. So that's also women over 50, of course.
Yes.
And as a 51-year-old now, I'm officially over 50.
Very good. Good. You made it to the better half.
I did, right? I crossed over. Yeah, but that's a lot of times what happens when I first start working with a woman is really identifying how she can actually create the motivation. So this is one of the biggest misunderstandings about motivation, is that people are often waiting to feel motivated to do something.
Right.
Or they're looking for the external motivator to do things, which, yes, external motivators help, but it's not the thing that's going to ultimately create the lasting change and the lasting effect that you're looking for. So one of the first things that we have to do a couple of things when I'm working with a woman is first get super clear on what it is that she wants. So what's the desired result and desired outcome? Now, I'm sure when people are talking about losing weight or getting fit, they kind of know what they want, but are they crystal clear? Can they totally picture it? Can they visualize it? Can they feel it? Can they embody it in every cell of their body, what that desired outcome looks like?
Right. I agree with that as far as trying to get them crystal clear, because that can be difficult, because a lot of times, even when that's actually one of the first things I do with clients. We talk about, okay, well, what are your goals? And then it's like, why do you want to reach those goals? We try to get behind that motivating factor. It's like, well, I want to look good. And it's like, okay, but why? And so I feel like I ask why over and over and over again, like a child, like a 3-year-old, but why?
Yes.
And it takes a while to get down to that deeper meaning. And I don't even know that first session when I'm talking to people, they even understand what their deeper meaning is yet. Like, how do you get down to that part?
Yeah. Well, so it's interesting. So when I start with the clarity piece of it, the crystal clarity of what they want, it's really two things. One, it's really super important that we get a clear vision of what they do want and not what they don't want. So what happens a lot of times is women will be really crystal clear on what they don't want, you know, or they'll be crystal clear on what they're trying to move away from. So for example, you know, I want to lose weight. Well, there's a resistance involved with that because it's something that you're trying to move away from.
Okay, so for instance, like if they're saying, I don't want to feel sluggish anymore, I don't want to feel fat, I don't want to feel dumpy, like all those negatives.
Yeah. So what's on the other side of that? What's the opposite of that look like for you is the question that I usually ask women. So, you know, if they're clear on all of those things, great, perfect, because that's a starting point. But what would the opposite of that look like? So what's the opposite of sluggish feel like for you?
Right, so I want to be energized.
Exactly. And how does that feel? And what does that look like? Because again, you know, when we're focused on what we don't want, we're giving energy to what we don't want. And keep reinforcing the patterns subconsciously of what we don't want. So that keeps us stuck in an unmotivating space because it's pulling us back into that energy of what we don't want. So when you're clear on what you do want, that gives you something to move towards. So I don't want to lose weight. I want to get healthy.
Right.
I don't want to feel sluggish. I want to feel vibrant and alive.
Right.
You know, and really which one feels expansive and which one feels contractive.
Oh, I like that. I like that.
It feels like something you got to do. And who really feels amazing and excited about losing weight?
It's funny when you mentioned expanded and contracted. I'm going to say about 5 years ago, so about 5 years ago, before I started Body and Soul Coaching, I owned like 3 businesses. I was stressed. There was like a lot of things. And I probably did focus on, I don't want to have this anymore. I don't want to be, you know, tied down to all these businesses. I don't want to feel drained, but all of that. And when you said expanded and contracted, I remember somebody had said, well, think about what you want and think about, when you say that statement, does it expand you or contract you? And that right there was my little step into starting to listen to my intuition again. I was learning how to. It's like, okay, so everything I said, does it expand me or contract me? And it just started getting me learning how to feel.
I'm so glad you said that. And actually, you know, especially for women over 50, 40, I say over 40, a lot of us have disconnected from our feelings.
Yes.
And it's getting back into the body. And I'm talking both emotions, but also the visceral feeling in your body. And that's what that feeling of expansion is. And we are designed as human beings to grow and expand. So when we're in contracted states, like being overweight or being sluggish or being unhealthy, then we are actually in a contracted state and it feels bad in our body. And then the trigger of the body leads to the negative thought patterns in the brain. Which
holds you there.
Cycle.
Right. So how do you, say somebody, so they start getting clear on that. Do they naturally just start getting motivated? I think that's like, what do you do then to say, okay, now I'm clear. Now what?
So the second step is going to what you were saying before about getting to the whys. So it's really critical to understand your whys. And this is actually one of the interesting things about high performing people is that they have 2 types of whys. So you've got your intrinsic why and you've got your extrinsic why.
Okay.
Intrinsic why is, why do I want this for myself? Why is this important for me? So if I want a vibrant, healthy body, if I no longer want to just lose weight, but what I really want is a vibrant, healthy body that I feel amazing in, that I feel light, that I feel toned and leaned and sexy. You know, if that's what I really want, why do I want that for myself?
Right.
Why is this important for me? That's your intrinsic why. The second why is an extrinsic why, which is not the same thing as an external why. I'll get to that. That's a third kind of why. But the extrinsic why is a why bigger than yourself. And this is key for motivation because we are often quick to give up on ourselves. Oftentimes our own why is not enough to keep us going. So when you have a why that's bigger than you, it's something to keep pulling you forward when you're not feeling as motivated for yourself. So an extrinsic why might be something like, you know, I want to get in the best shape of my life because I want to be there for my daughter when she gets married.
Okay.
Or if I have younger kids, I want to be able to have the energy and be able to get, you know, play with them. Or it may be something like, maybe there's a big mission that you have, or maybe it's something like, I want to be able to run a marathon. That's intrinsic, but it's also extrinsic. The extrinsic is, I want to be able to run that marathon because I want my kids to be proud of me.
Right, right.
External why is the why that you don't want, which is oftentimes the why that people have. And it's the reason why the motivation doesn't stick. It's things like, I want to lose the weight. You know, again, it's not even getting, I want to get healthy, but I want to lose the weight because I want my husband, or my husband thinks I'm fat, or society thinks I'm fat, or, right. You know, it's societal stuff.
Or just that I don't want people judging me.
Exactly. It's the things that you feel like you should do. You know, the shoulds, the coulds, I'm supposed to want to do this, but right. There's a real reason for yourself, and there's not an external reason that's pulling you forward.
Right. It's more shame.
It's more shame. It's shame and guilt based.
Right. Right. Yeah. So that you said was the extrinsic or external?
Intrinsic and extrinsic are the ones that you want. The external, which is completely outside of you, that has real no connection to you and your soul, is the one that's not going to keep you motivated.
Okay.
Not in the long term.
Right, right.
You'll see short-term motivation, but it won't stick because there's nothing in the body actually keeping hold of that. It's all up here. It's all in the mind. And so this is the other thing, is to really understand the way that the brain is working when it comes to motivation too. So the brain itself, you've got your lower brain and you've got your higher brain. I mean, you've got more than that, but those are the two main things that
we'll keep it simple.
Right? So the lower brain is the reptilian brain. It's the part of the brain that's designed to keep you safe.
That's like the basal ganglia.
Yeah. The amygdala is in the lower brain. It's the part of the brain that will be the fight, flight, or fright response.
Okay, right.
The thing that's important to know about it is that the lower brain doesn't like change. Because basically, if nothing changes, then it considers you to be safe. And safe does not have to be, it's comfortable, right? So anytime you start to change, the lower brain is going to try and self-sabotage you. And it's not doing it to self-sabotage. It's doing it to keep you comfortable, to keep you safe.
Right. So that's where habits lie.
It's where habits.
That same place, right? Because I talk about that one a lot with the habits. That's something different with the motivation, because I talk about, like, motivation only takes you so far, but if you get those habits in, you don't even have to think about it.
Habits are everything.
That part.
Yeah, and habits are what are keeping you where you're at, right?
Right.
Habits, and habits are what the lower brain loves, because according to the habits, you're alive still. So it doesn't care whether or not you're happy. It just cares whether or not you're alive, right?
Right.
So as long as you are doing everything the same way, the lower brain doesn't feel like there's danger.
Right. No, there's no threat. Keep going. Stay the status quo.
Exactly. But if you start to move, like if I start to release weight, if I start to get stronger, if I start to get healthier, according to the lower brain, that's change. And so it's going to pull you back to where you were. Right.
So anybody listening to this, just to interrupt, but anybody listening to this, know that when you're trying to make a change, you're trying to get yourself motivated and do something differently, that struggle is happening in your brain. It's not all your fault. You're not a weak person. You just need to know how to work with it, which is what Beth is talking about now. So just know that. I just don't like people blame themselves, going, "Oh, what's the matter with me? I'm so weak. I can't even last a day."
Yep.
This is why, here.
It's super important that you're consciously aware of what's going on in the brain, because then you can choose to do something different. You can have a dialogue back to the lower brain and say, "I got this. Like, I know you're just trying to be safe. I know what you're doing here, but I've got this. Like, this is the direction that I'm headed." And here's the thing too, is, you know, your brain is, all your habits are what are driving your behavior. I mean, they really are the habits, and the habits are formed by the neural connections in your brain that keep firing off. So your thoughts, every time you have a thought, you've got two neurons connecting in the brain, and it's wiring together. So it's creating a new neural connection, a new neural pattern in the brain. Every time you give direction and energy in that same thought pattern, it reinforces it. There's something called the myelin sheath that gets laid down around those neural connections. And it's kind of like going from low speed internet to high speed. So like, right? So the more you keep going in that direction, it lays down more myelin, which speeds up the pattern.
Okay, that makes sense.
It makes the habit more and more and more ingrained the more you do it. So here's the thing. Once you start to recognize what's going on, if you beat yourself up for it, you're just giving energy to it. You're reinforcing the pattern. Whereas if you recognize what's going on and you have that dialogue and say, hey, you know, lower brain, thank you, and I'm moving to this direction, and you celebrate the awareness, you celebrate the conscious awareness of knowing what's going on instead of beating yourself up for it, then it's easy to direct the brain into the new direction.
That's interesting. So would you recommend that people literally speak to themselves? Like if they're feeling that, like say it out loud, okay, I've got this, I'm not going to do that.
Yep, totally.
Like it sort of like interrupts it if you start speaking out loud. You may feel a little silly, you know, just starting to talk or saying, hey, wait a minute, brain, I've got this, you stop that. Yep. But it interrupts the pattern.
Totally. Yeah, you can even give your lower brain a name, you know, say, hey, you know, Betty Lou or whatever. I got this.
Name your brain. I want to hear everybody's brain name after them.
Exactly.
What's your brain name?
And then again, like I said, don't get frustrated when it happens. Just recognize what's going on. There's a YouTube video that I would recommend everybody watch. Just Google backwards bicycle. And it's a
backwards, what is it?
Bicycle.
Backwards bicycle.
Yeah, what it is it's this guy who, I think he's an engineer, and he and his buddies used to play jokes on each other all the time. And his friends one day took his bike. I think that he biked to work every day, and they wired it backwards so that every time he goes right, the bike goes left.
Oh my goodness.
Right. And it got him and he couldn't ride it. Like he would literally get on it and he would fall over. And so he was determined to actually be able to ride this bike. And he rode it like every single day. He got back on it, trying to ride it. And then at one point in time, I don't know how many days in it was, I forget, you'd have to watch the video, but at one point in time, just everything clicked. And all of a sudden he was able to ride that bike. And it's a great example of what's going on in the brain, the way the brain is wired. Because at one point in time, as long as you keep going in that direction, you keep going, at one point it'll just click in for you.
Wow, that's pretty amazing when you think about that, because you would think logically that, okay, it'll get a little bit easier, but you're saying it actually makes a switch.
It'll make, what's happening is the new neurons, the new neural connection is made in the brain, and enough myelin sheath has been put down that the electrical impulses are speeding up, and the new habit is now in place.
Wow.
So it's
that's
like
pretty amazing.
Crossing point over where it all of a sudden clicks. If you watch this video, you'll see what I mean. And what was even more interesting is his young son, who, I don't know, was somewhere between 6 and 8 years old, was trying to learn to ride the bike as well. And he learned really, really fast.
I bet he did.
It just goes to show, you know, how when you have habits in place, they're much more deeply connected. The older you are, the more habits you have that are in place, but those habits are not permanent. They can be dissolved, and you can create new habits at the same time.
Yes, that's important to know. It is possible. It feels like it's impossible in the beginning, but it's just like you said, you have to take the time. You have to keep on interrupting that process and laying down that new path. They just say, okay, we got to create a new path here. And it takes a while to clear out that path.
It it just takes time. And then you just, again, that's part of the dialogue. You're like, I'm in the process of creating this new habit. I'm in the process of creating this new habit. I'm in the process of creating this new habit, and just keep reminding yourself. And, laugh with the lower brain, celebrate the awareness, redirect, and just keep focusing in the direction that you do want to go, not towards the direction you don't want to go. Again, I'm not trying to lose weight here. I'm trying to get healthy.
Right. Positive statements.
And I'm in the process of getting healthy.
Okay.
What am I moving towards? Not what am I trying to get away from?
Right. So far we have, number one is getting clear on what you want, not on what you don't want, but get clear on what you want. Number two is your why, your intrinsic why.
Yeah.
Right. And then number three, is that what we're getting to?
Yeah. Number three.
So that's number 1 and 2.
Yeah. Number three, to reinforce this, well, there's a couple different things here. So the other piece of knowing your why is actually embodying it. So one of the things that is really important is that we learn to use our imagination. Our imagination is one of the most underutilized conscious mental faculties available to us. Now we're using it all the time unconsciously, all the time.
How are we using it unconsciously?
Worrying.
Oh, that's right. That's right. The what ifs. Oh my God, what if this happens?
Yeah.
Right.
Always using our imagination to worry about everything that could possibly go wrong, all the worst case scenarios, all of the things that we don't want to happen.
Right. I didn't even connect that. That's incredible. That's what I'm saying. No, we use our imagination when we're kids. We stop using it as adults. You're right. We use it a lot as adults.
We're using it. Yep. We're just not consciously using it. So
right.
Is really being able to use your imagination to imagine that ideal outcome. So that crystal clarity of what you want, actually imagining it. And when I say imagining it, most people think visualization, and I'm not talking just visualization. I'm talking using all of your senses. And actually, because you're activating different parts of your body when you're using the different senses, which allows you to emotionalize the feeling and allows you to then start to actually generate the motivation. And you're activating different parts of the brain too.
That's great.
If you were to close your eyes and actually imagine that ideal outcome, picture it, like see it, feel it in your body. How does it feel both emotionally and viscerally? What does it taste like? What does it smell like? What do I hear? Using all of it.
Right, auditory, all of that.
All of it, and really be able to call up the emotion that comes with it. So I usually do an exercise, a meditation with my clients where we actually put them in that future state and then create from that. There are 3, I call them power words. So what are the 3 words that describe that ideal version of yourself? Now it's really important to get into the actual emotion of it before you pick your words.
Right.
Otherwise you're picking your words
excuse me,
from the brain, and you want to pick the words from your intuitive sense, right? So what are the first 3 words that come up that describe that ideal version of yourself? And once you've got those 3 words, you can use them as anchors. So what I mean by that is, and this is a high performance habit, you can plug in alarms on your phone and label the alarms with your words. And throughout the day, when your alarms go off and the words pop up, it's a cue and an anchor for you to close your eyes, feel into the feeling of those 3 words. So like my 3 words right now are vibrant, courageous, and confident. So those are 3 words right now.
I was just going to ask you to give me an example of some words. So that's great.
Yeah. So when my alarm goes off at 1 o'clock, maybe I'm at lunch by myself. Maybe I'm just sitting at lunch by myself in a cafe, or maybe I'm with somebody. Those words will have different meanings for them, right? So vibrant mean what's on my plate? Am I eating vibrant food? Or am I eating food that's going to make me feel icky?
Okay.
Is the color of the food vibrant?
Right.
The conversation that I'm having with somebody, if I'm with somebody, is that vibrant? What am I doing to feel courageous? What can I do if I'm not? Because the whole point is to align into that future version of yourself. The
Oh,
more,
I love that idea.
the more you align into it, the more it becomes natural. And so at one point you realize your alarm goes off, your label comes up, and you're already there. You're already being that person.
Oh, right, because now you're being signaled, right? So now that sound of that alarm is actually a trigger into thinking a certain way.
Yeah, yeah, and feel. It's really more about feeling it.
Yeah, okay, right.
Close your eyes and can actually feel it. So for me, vibrant and courageous have different feelings in my body, right? So if I close my eyes and I actually feel into it, almost like a radio, and you're tuning in the radio.
Okay.
Feel it differently. The frequency in your body feels different.
Right. Oh, I like that.
You close your eyes, you tune into the frequency of your power words, of your ideal self, and you can pull up the energy of the motivation.
Right. Oh, that is awesome. I love that.
Yeah.
People be setting alarms all day long.
I usually tell people at least 3 alarms throughout the day. You
Right.
can have more than that if you want. You do have to be aware that the lower brain will try and sabotage you.
Right.
Again, this is part of, it's just doing its job, but you'll have to notice that the lower brain's going to try and sabotage you by having you just turn the alarm off, or ignore it, or pretend that, this is stupid. It'll say things like this.
Well, this is never going to work.
Yeah, it doesn't work.
Big deal. An alarm. Right.
Exactly. And you just got to know, hey, it's just lower brain.
Right.
To do.
Quiet brain. I love that. Yeah. This is so incredibly helpful. I mean, an ideal in habits all the time. My entire program is based on helping change people's habits, and I'm learning so much from you about the brain and how it's all connected. This is great.
I also love Mel Robbins' 5-second rule. Are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
So, and it's all based in neuroscience too. So basically, you've got 5 seconds. When you have an impulse to do something or an inspiration to do something, you've got 5 seconds. And there's a window of 5 seconds to take the action. And if you don't, what will happen is the brain will then start to kick in and talk you out of it. So
interesting.
You use the 5-second rule. So as soon as you've got that inspiration, it's like in the morning, you wake up and you need to get out of bed to go do the workout. And you just 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, take the action. And if you literally are counting down, you're redirecting the brain, you're giving it a different direction to go in. So you kick away that lower brain response and you take the action. So really try this because it does work. But it gives you the chance to get going before the lower brain can kick in and sabotage you.
That is awesome, because I'll tell you, believe it or not, I know I'm a health coach and this is what I do. And I have had a hard time with my morning routine lately.
Yeah.
Because there was a change. Like I used to get up and go out to work. Now I work from home. It's very easy to work from home and say, well, before I get started, let me just go sit down and have coffee.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right? I'm going to throw a load of laundry in. Let me check my emails, right? Like that's important to do at 7 o'clock or 6 o'clock in the morning. Let me check Facebook.
And you got to know that's just your lower brain. That is actually your lower brain that is subtly sabotaging you, but it thinks it's doing a good job.
Right. So at the moment, it feels good.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
At the moment.
Exactly.
Remember that people, at the moment, it feels good. Later on, you're going to say, oh, I'm terrible. How did I let myself do that again? I'm so weak. I have no motivation. I have no willpower.
All right. So I want to stop you there, though, because you just made a perfect point of something.
Oh, good.
This is another thing. And actually, I think this ties into the freebie that I have.
Okay, cool.
Flourish journal prompts. So here's one of the other things that's really important to direct the brain with is we have to become super conscious of the questions that we're asking and the the statements that we're making. So when I forget what you just said. Was it how could I have done that, or how can I do
Yeah.
something?
Why did I do that again? How could I have done that to myself again?
Yes. So these
Right.
are questions. So the brain is wired to go searching for the answers to the questions that we ask. Now, most
Okay.
of the time we're asking questions subconsciously or unconsciously, right? So those questions are going on in our head, and the brain is actually starting to search for the answer to that and validate it. So whether it's a question or you're making a statement, the brain's looking to validate it. So what we want to do is actually switch the question and ask better quality questions.
Okay. So instead of saying, how could I have done that to myself again?
How can I do this differently tomorrow?
Okay.
And here's a question that I always recommend using. I wonder. Because wonder switches you into curiosity mode. And what you're really looking for is curiosity. Again, think about the difference between expansion and contraction. How could I have done that again is contractive. And
Right.
it feels icky, right? Whereas
it feels horrible.
I wonder what I can do differently tomorrow to get off on the right foot.
Right. Just using the word wonder. That's a great word, right?
It's expansive, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah.
I wonder how I can do this differently.
I wonder how I can make this easier.
Right. It puts a whole, just saying that, it puts a whole different feeling in my body just by saying it.
Totally. It's expansive. Yeah.
Right. Yes, try that. Try that.
It's
So,
growth oriented.
right. So I'm just going to suggest to anybody watching this, try that. Just where you are right now, just sit there and make a statement like that, and then turn it into a I wonder statement and feel the difference that you have in your body. You immediately feel lighter.
Yeah.
How to connect to that.
And it's not, I wonder how I could have done that again. You know, like,
right.
again, like you could use I wonder the wrong way too, but it's really, what is the desired outcome that I'm looking for? And how can I direct my curiosity and wonder towards the desired outcome?
Right. So like the wonder of how can I, instead of can't, I can.
Yep.
Something like that.
Yeah. I wonder, and here's my favorite one lately in particular. I wonder how this can be easier. That's like my favorite question. I ask it every day.
That is nice.
Journaling. How can this be easier? I wonder how this can be easier. And actually not, I wonder is better than how can this be easier, because when just notice the difference in those questions too. I wonder how this can be easier really opens you up for things to start to download in, versus how can this be easier is I have to figure this out.
Right. It's almost like, well, how can this be easier? It almost is a block.
It is blocked.
Before you even come up to the answer.
It's like,
right.
I'm still stuck in the energy of I'm not figuring this out. I've got to figure this out.
Right.
You're using different parts of your brain when you're wondering. You're going into imagination.
Right.
Versus the analytical, logical part of the brain that's trying to figure things out. Right.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. So now you said that this ties into an offer that you have.
Well, yeah. So I'm gifting the journal prompts. So it's 90 days worth of journal prompts. They're all curiosity-based questions. You can use a different journal prompt every day. I just go through them randomly and pick one out. And it always has some kind of meaning for you that day, whatever the question is.
And guys, I'm going to put a link to this in the chat. Make sure I spell this correctly.
It's called the Flourish 90-Day Journal Prompts. My signature program is Flourish. So.
And that is a great word too. Words are so interesting. I love words.
They are. I will tell you. It's interesting because it's called Flourish, not Thrive, because there's actually a difference between thriving and flourishing. Thriving sounds really amazing, and it's a great place to get to. But thriving also, if you look at the actual definitions of the two words, the word thrive actually has a subtle connotation of struggle to it. So if you think of those plants that are coming up through the concrete and the sidewalk, they're thriving. They're doing things the hard way.
Right. So it's a struggle. It's a push. It's a push.
So it's making it, and it feels it's an accomplishment, but it's always having to do things the hard way. Whereas flourishing is actually beyond that.
Right. Flourishing, you can see the bloom happening,
Exactly.
not just pushing through the concrete.
And
Right.
it's surrounded with support.
Right.
It's a serious feeling. Yeah.
Oh, that is awesome. Yeah, that 90-day journal prompt workbook, guys, I put the link in the comments, and I know I've shared this out to my group as well and stuff. So I'll make sure it's in anywhere I've shared it, I'll make sure that link is in there. So definitely download that. That's very helpful. And I like that it's 90 days, because that's a really good amount of time to work on something consistently.
Yeah, the latest research shows that habits take on average 67 days.
Right. I'm glad you said on average.
On
I go crazy when I hear people say, well, it takes 21 days to create a habit. It's like, well, it depends. What are you trying to create the habit of drinking 1 glass of water, or are you trying to create the habit of like changing your entire lifestyle? It depends on the complexity of the habit, how long it's going to take you to change it.
And how attached you are to the old habit. You know,
Yes.
There's so many variables when it comes to that. But yeah, I think in the study that they did, it was anywhere between 12 days and 200 and some days.
Yes. Yeah, I think I read that same study. I remember hearing after 200 days. Right. Take a long time. But even it would actually, I just said it could take a long time. But if you have a habit that you've been with for a long time, and 200 days is less than a year, that's not a lot of time. As we get older, we know how quickly a year goes by, right? In the blink of an eye. So it's not that long.
And if you really put in a lot of these things into place that we've been talking about, it can happen a lot faster.
Right.
You're not resisting creating the new habit.
Right. And you're getting your brain on all these different levels to work with you on so many different levels. This is great. All right. I'm gonna think of what habit I want to work on and utilize this.
Exactly. Awesome.
Okay. All right. So anything else to add to that?
I think those were the main points. Well, I was just, I think the other thing is just to reinforce that motivation is something you generate. It really is not something that you wait for the motivation to take the action. You generate the motivation. You're capable of generating it. And just
okay. That's really important to bring up, because I just want to know, if you're in my group or if you're not in my group, a lot of people told me that they joined the group mainly because they struggled with motivation and they wanted somebody to motivate them. Yeah. And that really has to come internally. I mean, I think you can get triggered externally. But so speak to that a little bit.
Actually, so there's something I do want to speak to on this. So your environment is super important for sure in terms of how you're setting yourself up for success with creating your new habits. And part of your environment are the people that you surround yourself with.
Right.
Support system. So being in a group like yours is fantastic because it provides a healthy environment. Yeah. And you want to also eliminate and no longer tolerate any toxic people around you, people who can't contribute to your goals. You need to set down those boundaries. But also you really have to be careful of the commiserators. This is a very interesting group of people. Right. The commiserators are people who are trying to make you feel better, and they're trying to do good things, and they probably don't even realize that they're doing it, but it is a form of sabotage because they don't help move you forward. So commiserators, it's usually coming from a place of they want to feel better about themselves, actually. Right. So it starts with empathizing, but it keeps you stuck instead of pulling you forward. So you have to consciously really, really pay attention to, do I have commiserators in my life who are helping me pull out of it, right? That they're not helping me aspire to something bigger. Right.
So if you do have commiserators in your life or toxic people, toxic is it's easier to recognize. Yeah. But if you have commiserators in your life, and you don't want to just tell people, hey, I'm not going to hang out with you anymore, because these are friends. So like, what do you do? How do you handle that?
Yeah, absolutely. And recognize, again, they're not doing it. The commiserators aren't doing it to intentionally sabotage. They're not intentional with their own actions. So what it is it's all about being consciously aware of what's going on. consciously aware of what's going on in your own brain, and also
Right.
consciously aware of what's going on in their brains because they're just
Right.
in their own cycle. So just when you know what's going on, you get to make a choice to not fall into it. To
Right.
again, and this is where I use wonder or curiosity. You know, I wonder where I can, who I can find that actually won't commiserate with me.
There you go.
You know, and you just move yourself in the right direction. It's all about being consciously aware of what's going on and just understanding the way that all the brain is wired and what's going on for them too. It's not about making them bad. It's not about making them wrong. They're dealing with their own lower brain.
Right. That's right. We got all these lower brains working that want to just keep us. But like you said, that's still a good thing, because that lower brain, as you get these new habits and new behaviors, new ways of thinking, it's going to hold you there too.
Yes.
So that's important.
Yeah, we don't want to turn off the lower brain. Well, first off, we need it when there's real danger. Like
Right.
we need it if you're about to cross the street and get hit by a car. You need your lower brain there to keep you safe. We don't want to turn off the lower brain. And to your point, when the new habits and behaviors are in place, it will protect those too.
Right.
Yeah. Great point.
All good things coming.
Yeah.
They're all coming your way. Okay, this was absolutely wonderful, Beth. I learned a lot here. There's so many different things that you can do. So obviously this live will be up here for a while. In the group, it will be kept under units. So I will let you guys know. We'll make sure those links are in there. And if you want to work with Beth, because obviously she is awesome, if you want to work with Beth, you can sign up for a complimentary strategy session. And then she will know the best way to, the next best step for you to take.
Yes.
And I will put a link in the comments for that as well.
Cool.
All right, Beth, thank you so much for being here. What a pleasure. I can't wait to connect with you again.
Awesome. My pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.